In the quiet corners of our lives, there are often unspoken divides, rifts in family that grow wider with each passing year, fueled not by grand betrayals, but by stubborn pride, unyielding expectations, and the silent question of who's right. We cling to our narratives, our justifications, convinced that if only the other person would see things our way, peace would return. But what if family isn't about who wins the argument, or who holds the moral high ground? What if it's about something far more profound and far more challenging? What if family is not about who's right, but who's ready? Ready to let go, ready to reach out, ready to heal. This isn't a question of blame, but of liberation. And the path to that liberation, to transforming these silent stalemates, lies deeply within the wisdom of the Buddha. The human mind, in its quest for order and control, often seeks to establish a definitive right and wrong. This tendency is particularly potent in family dynamics, where shared history and deep emotional bonds can amplify perceived injustices. We become entangled in a web of blame and self-justification, believing that if we can just prove our righteousness, the conflict will resolve. However, Buddhist teachings illuminate that this pursuit of rightness is often a subtle form of clinging, upadana, to a fixed self-identity and a particular narrative. It's a manifestation of ego, which seeks to protect and assert itself, even at the cost of genuine connection. The Buddha taught that suffering, dukkha, arises from attachment, and attachment to being right is no exception. When we are attached to our version of events, our perceived victimhood, or our sense of moral superiority, we perpetuate the cycle of conflict and prevent true healing. The key lies not in determining who is right, but in cultivating the readiness to transcend these egoic attachments and prioritize the well-being of the relationship. The Buddhist path offers a profound framework for navigating the complexities of family relationships, moving beyond the futile pursuit of rightness towards genuine reconciliation and peace. It emphasizes inner transformation as the prerequisite for external harmony. 1. Right understanding. Samadhi, understanding the roots of conflict. The first step is to cultivate right understanding of the nature of conflict and suffering. This means recognizing that arguments and estrangement in family often stem not from malicious intent, but from deep-seated fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled needs. It's about seeing that each person, including ourselves, is operating from their own conditioning, their own past hurts, and their own limited perspective. For example, a sibling's perceived stubbornness might be rooted in a childhood fear of not being heard, or a parent's controlling behavior might stem from their own anxieties about safety and security. Right understanding encourages us to look beyond the surface-level behaviors and perceive the underlying suffering that drives them. It's about realizing that clinging to being right is a form of self-inflicted suffering, and that true liberation comes from understanding the interconnectedness of all beings and the causes of their actions. 2. Right thought. Samma Sankappa, cultivating thoughts of compassion and forgiveness. Right thought involves intentionally cultivating wholesome mental states, particularly compassion, karuna, and forgiveness, kshama. Instead of replaying past grievances and fueling resentment, we consciously choose to generate thoughts of understanding and empathy. This doesn't mean condoning harmful actions, but rather recognizing the suffering of the other person and wishing them well. Forgiveness, in Buddhism, is primarily for our own liberation, releasing us from the burden of anger and bitterness. For instance, if a family member has deeply hurt you, right thought encourages you to acknowledge your pain, but then to intentionally send thoughts of metta, loving kindness, towards them, wishing them freedom from suffering. This practice gradually softens the heart and opens the door for potential reconciliation, or at least inner peace. 3. Right speech. Samma Vaka, speaking with kindness and wisdom. Right speech is crucial in family reconciliation. It means refraining from harsh words, gossip, and divisive language. Instead, we strive to speak truthfully, kindly, and constructively. This involves mindful communication, choosing words that foster understanding rather than escalate conflict. For example, instead of saying, "You always do this wrong," right speech would encourage, "I feel hurt when specific action happens." It's about expressing your feelings and needs without blaming or attacking. It also means knowing when to remain silent, when speaking would only add fuel to the fire. The goal is to create a space for open and honest dialogue, where both parties feel heard and respected, even if agreement isn't immediately possible. 4. Right action. Sama Kamanta taking steps towards healing. Right action involves engaging in wholesome behaviors that contribute to healing and reconciliation. This might mean initiating contact, offering a sincere apology, even if you feel you were right, or simply performing small acts of kindness. It's about demonstrating your readiness to mend the relationship through your deeds, not just your words. For example, if you've been estranged from a family member, right action might be sending a thoughtful card, offering practical help, or suggesting a neutral meeting place. These actions, however small, can begin to chip away at the wall of silence and resentment. It's about prioritizing the relationship over the need to be right, and taking concrete steps, however tentative, towards a more harmonious future. 5. Right livelihood. Sama Ajiva sustaining a healthy inner environment. While traditionally referring to ethical professions, right livelihood can also be interpreted as sustaining a healthy inner environment that supports reconciliation. This means avoiding activities or influences that fuel anger, resentment, or self-pity. It's about consciously choosing to engage with media, conversations, and environments that promote peace, understanding, and compassion. For example, if certain social media interactions or conversations with others consistently trigger negative emotions about your family situation, right livelihood encourages you to limit or avoid them. By protecting your inner peace, you create the mental and emotional space necessary to approach family challenges with greater clarity and resilience. It's about ensuring that your internal landscape is conducive to healing, rather than perpetuating conflict. 6. Right effort. Sama Vyama persisting with patience and wisdom. Right effort is the sustained application of energy to cultivate wholesome states and abandon unwholesome ones. Reconciliation, especially in deeply fractured family relationships, rarely happens overnight. It requires immense patience, persistence, and the willingness to face setbacks. Right effort means continuing to cultivate compassion, practice mindful communication, and take small steps towards healing, even when the other person isn't responsive or when old patterns resurface. It's about understanding that change is a gradual process, and that your effort, however small, contributes to the overall well-being of the relationship and your own inner peace. It's the unwavering commitment to the path, even when the destination seems distant. 7. Right mindfulness. Sama Sati being present with emotions without judgment. Right mindfulness is the practice of being fully present and aware of your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment. When engaging in difficult family conversations or reflecting on past hurts, intense emotions like anger, sadness, or frustration will inevitably arise. Right mindfulness teaches us to observe these emotions as they are, without getting swept away by them or identifying with them. For example, if anger arises during a conversation, instead of reacting impulsively, you can pause, notice the physical sensations of anger, and acknowledge it. Anger is present. This creates a space between you and the emotion, allowing you to respond skillfully rather than react habitually. By practicing mindfulness, you gain greater control over your emotional responses, preventing old patterns of conflict from replaying and opening the door for new, more constructive interactions. 8. Right concentration, Samma Samadhi, cultivating inner stillness for clarity. Right concentration is the development of a focused and tranquil mind through meditation. In the midst of family turmoil, our minds can become agitated, clouded by worry, resentment, and fear. Right concentration provides the stability and clarity needed to navigate these challenges with wisdom. Through practices like mindfulness of breathing or walking meditation, you train your mind to remain steady and present. As your concentration deepens, you access a profound sense of inner stillness, which allows you to see situations more clearly, free from the distortions of emotional reactivity. This inner calm is not a detachment from the problem, but a stable foundation from which to approach it with greater wisdom and compassion. It's the deep well of peace that allows you to draw strength and insight, even when external circumstances remain challenging. Family relationships are not static. They are living, breathing entities that require constant care, understanding, and a willingness to adapt. The pursuit of rightness often leads to stagnation, trapping us in cycles of blame and resentment. True healing and reconciliation begin not when someone admits they were wrong, but when someone is ready to let go of the need for that admission. It's about prioritizing connection over ego, compassion over judgment, and the future of the relationship over the grievances of the past. The Buddhist path, with its emphasis on inner transformation and skillful action, offers a profound guide for this journey. It reminds us that the power to heal, to forgive, and to begin again lies not in the other person, but within our own readiness. If your family relationship is caught in the trap of who's right, are you ready to be the one who chooses readiness and takes the first step towards healing? If this exploration has resonated with you, please consider subscribing to the Noble Wisdom Path. Share this video with someone who might be struggling with family conflict, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Together, let's cultivate the readiness to heal and build stronger, more compassionate family bonds.